Hello everyone, how y'all doing? It's Neil here, back in the FM Dugout, with episode 9 of I'll Take the Low Road, the journey of Peebles FC. So today sees the end of season 2014-2015, and what can we say for this season? Well, it's been a long one, and no thanks to the data editor mistake in playing an extra 15 games in the league, but luckily that hasn't hindered us. We've still achieved our main goal of getting promoted to the Scottish Lowland League. Now certainly, looking at our league table on this screen, we have absolutely romped home in this league campaign. We haven't lost a single game, we've only drawn 5 out of 45 and a goal difference of plus 90, beating our nearest rivals by 36 points. So I don't think the league was ever in doubt. We had a kind of scary time, I think, in the playoff final against Edusport Academy. A lot closer than I would have hoped that game would have been. But all in all, we made it through and we've got up to the next stage of our climb to the top. So the league went well, but what else did we manage to achieve this year? Well, we managed to win ourselves a number of cups. We obviously got put out of the South Challenge Cup by Eyemouth United, which was our only loss of the entire season. So it was a little disappointing, but we certainly made up for it in the other competitions. So we won the East of Scotland Qualifying Cup, which allowed us to play Livingston, and it was a weakened Livingston side, and that was the last episode, which was a fairly comfortable 3-1 win in the end. So that was good. You know, it was unexpected to play a team from the Championship, albeit, as I say, weakened. And then we played Tynecastle in the South East League Cup final, and we played Craigmark in the Alex Jack Cup final and won both of those as well. So, you know, I suppose you could say we won 4 trophies, but I'm not really counting this one as a trophy. The game certainly counts it as a trophy. It says we won 5 honours this year, so who am I to argue with that? So from the last episode, there's been one fairly major development, which has actually only just happened, and you can see it here in the inbox view. We have actually turned semi-professional now. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised by that because we've only got 19k in the bank, and that's only come in from winning cups. And we actually did get one full house against Livingston. That was at home. It wasn't a neutral venue, and we managed to get about 6k in from that. But you know, other than that, we're losing money every week from our normal matches. So I'm not too sure how this is going to turn out for us financially. You know, obviously we'll now need to pay wages for players, for staff, and it'll be interesting to see how things transpire over the summer. It's obviously changed my plans a little bit. I was expecting to be amateur next year, with a bit of a better reputation, might be able to attract some of the better kind of free transfer players. But it's definitely going to be an interesting twist in our storyline. But I suppose it had to happen at some point. Just wasn't expecting it to happen next year. So, in terms of how we have done, you can see here from board confidence that everything's tracking pretty smoothly. Wages slap bang in the middle because we haven't paid any wages, and you know, obviously they can't judge us on that. I would have hoped that competitions might have been sort of up at the top, winning all but one of our competitions that we've taken part in, plus winning the league when we were 5,000 to 1. You know, I think that has really been a great achievement for this club, and yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed it's not higher up. So anyway, it looks as though I'm also going to be starting contract renewal talks. I have no intention at all in this game of accepting any offer from any other club. If I get sacked from this job, then that will probably be the end of the series, unless I simulate it out. But I certainly won't be leaving the club out of choice. So before we go on and take a look at how the team and the players have performed this year in the league and as a whole, we'll take a look back over the 2 games that were played since the last episode, the 2 cup finals in fact. So we had Tynecastle up first, which was a 4-2 win, and to be honest, this game 4-2 probably flattered us a little bit. It was a pretty evenly matched game, quite a bit of toing and froing in terms of the scoreline. We took the lead, they equalised We then went 2 goals up with an own goal from their goalkeeper just before half time. They pulled it back to 3-2, and Phil Story then completed his brace to take it to 4-2. And, I think it was a decent performance. Certainly the central midfielders, both in 7. In fact, it was a pretty decent performance throughout the whole midfield. Jamie Mills maybe having a bit of an off day. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, it was a win in the cup final. It got us, actually didn't get us 10k this one, which was a little surprising, a little bit disappointing as well. But we did manage to get the home tie against Livingston, which gave us the gate receipts there, which I was quite pleased about. And then that led us up to the final game, which was against Craigmark. Now, Craigmark actually play in Ayrshire Division 1, so it's actually a league that, Scottish Juniors Ayrshire Division 1. It's a league that you can't even play in this particular editor data. And 3-0, I think it was a fair result. I wasn't really anticipating a difficult match. And we didn't play exceptionally well. The defence played pretty well that day. Harry Stewart, I think, had 1 or 2 assists. Centre back pairing did well. Keeper played well. Phil Story had an off game and he was substituted, and Patrick Martin then got the brace. So it was always quite handy to have these two that we could just switch in and out, knowing that they would be able to score. And Jamie Mills popping up again with another goal. But yeah, from the match stats you can see we controlled the game in terms of possession. We had the greater number of shots on goal, so pretty standard stuff from our boys, and that completed our quadruple. So there is the season as a whole, and the one blip there against Plymouth United still annoys me to this day. But yeah, I think I can't really complain when you look at the season as a whole. So let's take a little look at how our lads did in the league. First of all, we'll look at some of the team stats. Now, to be honest, some of these won't come as a surprise. Home form and away form, because we've just been the informed team, we were at the top, rather unsurprisingly. Not too interested in the kind of details around our sort of recent form, games scored in a row and so on. I think one thing that's interesting here is the yellow cards, 58 yellow cards, but if I just drop into the tactics, this is why. I tell my lads to go in hard on every single player on the field apart from central defenders and sweepers, and that's just because I don't really want to give them space. I want them to know who's in charge right from the off, and it certainly works in terms of winning games. And we haven't had too many red cards. You can see that we're not showing up in the red card table. So I think all in all, it works. But there is that risk of having a high number of yellow cards. So let's take a little look at some of these other things. Let's take a little glance at average attendance. We'll have a look at average attendance first. So we were actually 6th. So if you look at this, it's actually only Duns who get a large number of fans. Everyone else has quite low, and I'm actually surprised to see us at 6th. In terms of our capacity, we're not even filling 1% of our ground capacity. So that's something that obviously I would like to see us change. I don't think this stadium sellouts. Did anyone have any? No. So it's one of those things, I think, that we'll see how it develops over time, and if we can continue to get up the leagues and we continue to play good football, high scoring games, the theory is that we should get some more fans, but we're never going to get sellouts. I don't think we're going to get over 2,000. I think we might get 1,000 max. I know there was a sellout against Livingston in that cup final, but I don't know if that was Livingston fans filling the ground or not. The game doesn't really go into that level of detail. So let's take a look at the player stats. So if we look at average rating, Darren Cruikshank is top. Not one of our players. Pretty close call, to be honest. I mean, Mike Jack has been great throughout the entire season. Jamie Mills also, since he's moved into that left winger role, has been exceptional. So I'm not surprised to see those two there. I'm a little surprised to see Kieran Bold, to be honest. But, some of our midfielders weren't that great in terms of the average rating. It might seem like they did a good job, but, the rating just wasn't particularly high. Don't really pay attention to games won or lost. Appearances, we didn't have any ever presence. There was only one in the league there. Assists, Mike Jack topping the charts. Jamie Mills joint second, and I think that just goes to show why they're up here in the average rating. They played a major part in our success this year. Glory Natumba, shots on target ratio, top in the league, which is really good for him, considering a lot of the time he played on the right wing towards the end of the season. Likewise, average minutes per goal was at 128 minutes, so that's not too bad from him, to be honest. Quite pleased with that. Players of the match, I still don't know why they don't call it man of the match. Anyway, it must be something to do with being politically correct, because you can't be sexist and say man of the match. Anyway, player of the match awards, Mike Jack with 12. So again, justifying why he's there as one of the best playing individuals in this league. Yellow cards, 3 out of the 5 are ours. Again, that's consistent with the team instructions. Distance covered per 90 minutes, Luigi Huaro. Great natural fitness from Luigi. His work rate's not that high, but certainly he is a worker. He's done a good job for us this year. Looking at the keepers, Robbie Brown with the fewest conceded goals with joint top clean sheets. Not too bad. I mean, he was our first choice keeper, but he did rotate with Craig Burns, which is probably why he only conceded 30. Might have conceded a bit more had he played all the games, because certainly our defence wasn't particularly great. We set out to score more goals than the opposition, and we did just that. Key passes, Mike Jack, Luigi Huaro. That's a fantastic stat for Mike Jack. That's almost double the closest player from another team, which is really great. And he's 32. I think he's one of the guys who'll definitely look to get on a contract for next season, especially if I'm sticking with the same formation, since he did so well playing behind a striker. Key tackles, Andy McLean. Excellent to see that we've got one defender there. I would have hoped maybe we could have seen some of the others, but Callum Thompson has struggled with a few injuries this year, and Frank McKeon obviously signed a little bit later on. Now we've had that little run through of the team and player stats in the league, let's take a closer look at our squad as a whole. So as you'd expect, by average rating overall, not just league games, Mike Jack, Jamie Mills sitting proudly at the top there. And if we just take a second to look at these stats, that's fantastic for a midfielder playing just off the striker. 45 appearances, 22 goals, 26 assists. Absolutely brilliant from Mike. And Jamie Mills chipping in with 11 goals from the left winger position. Also, really good. And I think that's one of the things this formation tends to give you. If I just rearrange this by goals, you'll see we've got 2 strikers there, as you'd expect. 55 goals between Phil Story and Patrick Martin, which is a pretty decent return. Mike Jack on 22. Then we've got Natumba on 19. Sandy Lawless and Huaro on 12. Jamie Mills on 11. McGuigan on 10. So you look at McGuigan, Mills, Natumba and Lawless. They all played in one of those winger positions. So that's a really large number of goals to have come in from those wide areas. Certainly one reason why I'm looking at sticking with the 4-2-3-1 wide formation for next season. I may well work with the third tactic. So I had 4-4-2 as a backup, and then 4-1-3-2 with a sort of anchorman player. So yeah, I'll have a tinker around, and when we come back for the next episode, I'll run through any of the tactics that I've decided to go with. So we hop back to average rating, just to go down some of the other players. Harry Stewart obviously came in from being at Inverness Cali Thistle, and he's had an excellent season. 5.53 tackles per game is pretty good for a fullback. Really quite pleased with that, and he was able to chip in with a few assists and a few Player of the Match awards as well. Phil Story, our top goal scorer in terms of, well, yeah, he's our top goal scorer. In 28 starts to score 30 goals is really good going for Phil, and I'll certainly be looking to keep him on. I'll be looking to keep all three strikers on if possible, but obviously just depends on how this change to semi-professional works and whether or not there's any other alternatives, because I'm not saying Phil Story is a world beater. He's done well enough to deserve a shot in the Scottish Lowlands. Scottish Lowland League, and I'll be willing to give him a contract to let him try it out. John Gallagher, we can ignore that. That was a one-hit wonder on 7.2. We then have three central defenders here, all coming in the high 710s. 6 tackles per game, 7.88, 5.76. Pretty solid from these three guys, to be honest. And we did rotate fairly frequently between them. We've kept them all relatively happy, which is good. Kieran Bowl then pops up at left back, and he's chipped in with 8 assists from a left back position, 3 goals as well. So yeah, pretty pleased with Kieran. I think he'll be able to make the step up next year. Again, it just depends on the market, whether or not there's someone available, and we might look to bring them in. And we start to get into midfielders now. So Waro, Lawless, solid. 12 goals each, high number of assists. I think they played pretty well, and you can see Waro with 5 tackles per game in the centre of the park. If we take a look down at Drew Wingate, who was his partner for most of the time, 6.54. Further down we had Michael Mossy in 6.62. So certainly the guys in central midfield were doing their fair share of tackling and stopping attacks coming through the middle of the park, which I'm pretty pleased about, to be honest. Patrick Martin at 7.11. I think a lot of the times he suffered from either being excellent or kind of substandard. Still managed 25 goals in 20 starts, which is really good for him. And then we start to get down to guys who maybe didn't play quite as often, and obviously goalkeepers. One person I do want to kind of call out is Anthony McGuigan. I don't think he'll be here next year. He hasn't been particularly happy. To be honest, I haven't been particularly happy with him. He was great to begin with, and he just kind of tailed off at the end. Likewise, Jose Katongo had been good at the start, and he became poor towards the end, and I just didn't use him unless I absolutely had to. Michael Mossy here at 6.9 might look as though I was a bit disappointed with that, but he did a job. It's a dirty job. Nobody likes to really play the ball-winning midfielder role. You don't get a lot of praise, but 6.62 tackles per game, chipped in with 4 goals and 3 assists. It's not too bad going, and he is our utility man, certainly at the back of the park, and he played a lot of the time at right back and left back, covering for injuries, suspensions, red cards in games and so on. So, I think obviously at his age, what is he, 18 at the moment, I think we'll definitely look to keep him on for next season. So if I have to pick out a standout performer, it's quite difficult because, it comes down to Jack and Mills, really. I think Jamie Mills has been excellent in that left-sided winger role, and he did score a number of important goals, and I think it's just for that reason that I would probably say Jamie Mills is my personal player of the year. You guys might disagree. If you do, let me know. I don't think there's really too many other contenders in terms of the squad as a whole. Mike Jack, he's been fantastic, but I just think Jamie Mills, there's been so many times that he's popped up at that back post to just slot the ball in. No more important goals than the one against Edgy Sport Academy right at the death in the playoff final. So he gets my Player of the Year award. So now that's the players dealt with. How did we get on? Well, if I'm being honest, I haven't really paid much attention to my own stats. I don't recall what they were at the start, so I can't say whether or not this has improved. Certainly our reputation is starting to get a bit better. Media handling is improving because I just take part in all the press conferences, even though I don't really enjoy it. I still take part in it. And I suspect some of these other things here, I'm not too bothered about them at the moment. I mean, domestic player bias, well, we can't really buy players from the continent. And so taking a look at the bottom, career achievements, we have the 5 trophies this year, 65 games played, win percentage of 90%. So yeah, we're averaging roughly 3-1 every game, which is good. I think it's a good start. I think it's something that we need to try and build upon for next season. And that leads me on to what my plans are for next season. So obviously we have now changed to semi-professional, and that will be my challenge over the coming weeks and months in the game to figure out how I'm going to approach this. So first of all, I'll be deciding who's going to be kept in the squad, and it's obviously going to focus heavily on the guys who've performed well and formed the core of the team, so the starting 11 that I preferred, and we'll try and get them tied down on a contract to begin with, and then we'll see who's available on the market, what our wage budget's like. I mean, obviously we've still got the takeover that may be happening at some stage and might give us the money that we need to survive, and I'll be looking at doing friendlies against some big teams at their ground if possible. Going to try possibly talking to the press about the manager, saying how great they are, and then try to invite them for a friendly. I don't think it'll work, but it's worth a shot. Obviously now we've been semi-professional, there's a chance that if we get a real gem of a player that we could sell them on for money, so we might have to start thinking about that at some stage. But certainly the squad is going to be the main focus over the coming months. Tactics wise, the tactic that's shown on screen here, it served me well this year. I'll be sticking with it next year. As I say, I might change our third tactic, maybe to have something a little bit more defensive, maybe pack the midfield out a little bit more, maybe look to play the likes of Mossy and Wingate in a sort of more defensive role just in front of the back four. But yeah, I'll give you a run through of that when the new season starts. I'm not going to cover any of the friendly games unless we get one of the big teams to agree to a friendly, and you should see an absolute drubbing. But yeah, I think on the whole, looking back at the season, it's been really good. We've achieved what we wanted to. We're on our way up the divisions, or at least we're up one division anyway. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the season. Make sure that you leave a comment on this video. How do you think we'll get on next year with the semi-pro status? Do you think we'll get back-to-back promotions? Obviously, there's not going to be too many experts out there for the Scottish Lowland League, but everyone has an opinion. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because this is just the start of our journey, and we'll be back again for season 2. So until then, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.